Good morning, my loves. Okay, so let's do a reading. Sorry I was gone last new moon because I've been having so many house guests in, and I am tripping to keep up. It's really been a challenging couple of months, actually. And I have the last person who's here now, and in a couple of days I'm going to be back to like, okay, what do I need to take care of? Because it's been pretty hard. But so anyway, I'm here now. I have the written horoscopes too. I got those written last night. And I had a really huge, incredible shift this morning, and I'm on fire with passion and with knowing exactly what I need to do now, what I need to let go of, what I need to change. But at the same time, my body is really hot. Like, I am sweating so much right now. Like, I'm just like, it's weird. Something got like, I don't know. Something, it almost feels like a fever bursting is what it kind of feels, where then you're just like whoosh. So I imagine it's kind of a big purge and a release and a detox. So I'm going to think of it in a good way because I feel amazing. I feel like I have done coke, and that would never be a possibility for me, but that's what I feel like right now. I'm just like, do, 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 do. What are we going to do? What do we want to talk about? What are we going to do next? Okay, blah, blah, blah. So hopefully I'm not like too on fire with this. But it does feel good. I feel like ready to tackle anything that life can bring me. And I have no idea at all what I'm going to talk about with this to make it different than what I just talked about in the readings. But so one thing right now that's happening with the energy, this is really so incredibly exciting. And it kind of makes sense too that we've just crossed the middle point of the year, if we're gonna, really look at it as a calendar year and not what's the other, well, anyway. But so we're right at the middle point, and we're at this point where like all these personal planets have gone retrograde for us and really kind of had us reevaluating a lot of things, and really looking at things in a different way, looking at our life path in a different way, looking at who we take it into our life in a different way. And coming to this middle point, it almost just feels like we've really kind of like bumped through a new layer where it's all going to start to feel really different to us. And especially moving into the new moon that's on July 26th, which I've been telling you about, that I'm so excited about. But there's just something like really new. And it's all because of all that inner work, looking back, feeling miserable, feeling like a loser, feeling like you're going crazy, feeling like you don't know what is going on, that has kind of led to us really taking a very close look at what is not working in our lives and what is not, making us happy. And, because our happiness is a big part of this now. And thank goodness, finally in history, we really are putting ourselves first in a way like that, because we haven't really been conditioned to care about our own happiness. And it's a very important piece in us manifesting these other things in our life, and also being able to give to others in an appropriate and positive way. So it's kind of like everything comes from, self-love and valuing who we are. And when you value who you are, which many of us have that journey because, our parents didn't have the consciousness that the parents now have, like people now having kids are very aware of what the children need to thrive and prosper. Even when my friend recently had a baby, she was just like, oh my gosh, I now realized my whole life is for this girl. And I was like, oh yeah, like how beautiful to put it like that, because that's the truth. When you have a baby, like that's your baby, and why would you not do everything to encourage that child to thrive and soar and be so put together in a confident way that they just manifest all these other beautiful things, so, but that's not how it's been in the past. The majority of people out there now have had envious parents who tried to put them down and make them feel like they were nothing, or really immature parents who are too self-centered in their own things to even notice that this kid needs this, that, and the other. And also too, just the consciousness of, even like, I wasn't breastfed, and now I know how that really screws kids up. Like, it screws their immune system up. It kind of almost like makes it harder to be a healthy child if you had the formula, pharmaceutically created nutrient things. But we didn't know that back then. I remember my mom said something about not wanting her boobs to get saggy. I think she had heard that your boobs will get saggy if you breastfeed. So it was like, what? There was lots of moronic things going on in consciousness, as there have been up until now. A lot of this stuff is still happening, but we're really just waking to it now. We're really, I just saw something about with the sunscreen. And I'm like, yeah, no kidding. Your skin absorbs everything. So how is DET on your skin going to, or I don't know if it's not DET on that one. That's the bug spray, huh? But anything, our skin absorbs everything. But honestly, we did not know this, even a decade ago. I don't think that was something that we were conscious of. So there's not really looking back and blaming for, the deficiencies of consciousness in people. We can't really blame, because they didn't know. We're only now, with Pluto and Capricorn, bringing forward all these injustices that are actually damaging us and hurting our lives and contributing to, what did I just find out something about, like 1 in 2 is expected to get cancer now? Like, that's crazy. That's like, and it's all this stuff that we're putting in our body and not even thinking about it. And I don't really want to get into the environmental issues on that, but there's just a lot to learn. So what has really been happening with us is that we've been going back and kind of thinking about some of these things and realizing, like, wow, like a lot of us had roadblocks and roadblocks and roadblocks from the moment we incarnated in. It's just been something to have to climb over, something to have to, accomplish and rise above. And right now, a lot of us are just moving into a place of feeling really empowered for whatever we had to walk through, and just seeing it as, wow, I wouldn't be this person had I not walked this stuff. The health-related stuff sucks, because then we really have to rebuild our immune system. And I'm like drenched. It's like my body acts like it's 100 degrees in here, and I think it's like 62. We are... we're just kind of facing a lot of these things and coming to that point of not blaming anymore, not seeing it as a negative, not feeling like we're held back, not feeling like we're just always having to suffer, but really kind of like rising to a higher position of, had I not walked that, I wouldn't be doing what I'm here doing now. And I look at that with my life a lot. Like, had I not had, 14 years, really from birth, so I really can't just say the last 14 years, there was a big squashing influence from birth. And a lot of us had to have that, and it's kind of a benefit. And, one thing I've found is people who have more privileged life or grew up with money or everything kind of came effortlessly to them, they don't really have the same happiness of people who came from nothing and had to climb out of that hole and, never, have such a hard time getting out of debt, which then is like having such a hard time expecting that good things come to them because they've come from so much scarcity. But those are the ones who are the big teachers in the world. Those are the ones who are really coming forward and offering these words of wisdom to people, and we're getting it. We feel it because we can see they walked their talk. And that's a lot of the energy with this Capricorn full moon, is it's about walking your talk. And we really do kind of go towards people, and it's going to get stronger. It's already really on the planet now. It's a new energy here where we do look to people who've walked their talk and have come from struggle. Like, we are attracted energetically to those people. There's a humble kind of energy to them. And we go, oh, I like you. I want to learn from you. I resonate with you, because you can feel if someone's walked their talk or is more intellectualizing the wisdom. So we're finally at a point right now where all the people who grew up so poor and, you know, had all these challenges like sexual abuse or not having both the parents around or not having parents that loved and valued them or saw them, you know, we're kind of feeling empowered for those things now. Like those people are like, wow, look at where I came from and look at what I'm doing now. You know, look at how I've come full circle and this other side and, you know, this other side of manifesting things. And you know, I've had a lot of people recently, I mean, I guess always, but they're always like, gosh, how are you so positive? How do you like write this in such a way so that it's so empowering? And it's kind of weird to me because I'm like, it's just who I am. I don't know. I don't feel like I'm doing anything different. It's just how I see it. But I also did come from not a very healthy, prosperous, loving, supportive, nurturing environment. Like I wouldn't really say I was like, I got Miracle Grow put into me. I would definitely say I had more rocks put into me and into my path and into, you know, how I've had to rise out and rise above and come out of this. It wasn't positive in any way, except that I did have a lot of freedom to be me and to go off and do whatever I wanted. In that respect, it was very positive. But as for nurturing support, you're beautiful, you're awesome, you can do anything, I didn't really get those messages. Kind of exactly the opposite. But even with that, when we make peace with this, what we end up seeing, that like one of the big reasons for forgiving people and making peace with this is these things don't just start automatically. They're always coming from past lineage things. And because we didn't have that honoring of babies or honoring of the vagina or honoring of, you know, that this is my child, I'm going to, now that I'm a parent, I'm going to dedicate my life to this, like my friend, you know, was saying to me. So we've all kind of come up, you know, came into this world with these hurdles that we've had to keep jumping over, but you know, the Capricorn way is that's how we become more powerful people. So there's never mistakes with this, and the sooner you can learn to forgive, the better, because none of these things, you know, what I can say pretty much, and especially knowing what happens when people cross over and die and how they really do face everything that they've done that's an injustice to anybody. But one of the things I do know that with human beings, and I kind of coach people a lot with this when they can't forgive a parent or they can't let go to what their parent did, is that the same thing was done to them. And also, older generations have a really hard time saying they're sorry, or they have a really hard time facing things because it's almost like taking responsibility for it. And instead, it's easier to just like, let's forget about this and let's move on. And we are the type who are like, no, I can't just move on. I have to communicate about this. We have to talk. I need to hear I'm sorry. I need to hear, yes, I did this. I feel horrible for what I've done. You know, we need to hear that to really move on. In a more effortless way, but we're most likely not going to get that because there was this programming put into them of you just don't talk about it. That's why, you know, sexual abuse was so rampant. You just don't talk about it. You don't tell your mom what was happening. You don't, you know, you just don't talk about that. There's always fear put into people too. You don't talk about this. So there's a really big we don't talk about this energy, whereas the new generations want to talk everything out. And mostly because they realize then the energy dissipates. Then it's like, okay, you know, life goes on. I feel better. We talked about it, you know, kind of thing. But what I wanted to tell you is that even though most of these parents or these people who've done things to you that kind of held you down, you have to understand that I would probably say like 99.999% of them who have done any kind of hurtful injustice to somebody else regrets it more than anything in the world and would do anything to go back and redo it a different way. They can't necessarily verbalize that to you, and if they can, you're so lucky because that's what just cleared you. But we can't really expect that. So it's important that we just understand that that is the truth, because we have got to let go of this stuff because these other people have done things to us, and then we're taking it on as I'm damaged, I'm worthless, there's no reason for me to be alive, I'm a loser, I am hideously ugly. And then because of things that were done to us, we're going out and manifesting through that screen. So it's really an unfair thing that we're doing to ourselves. And that's a lot of the energy that's coming up, and wanting you to kind of let go of those limitations in your life that are keeping you from loving, that are keeping you from attracting an abundant love, that are keeping you from attracting a dream career, you know, that are keeping you from opening your heart to letting people love you, you know, putting up all these shields, not trusting people, basing everything on the experiences of what you've had happen, and then almost manifesting that because you're like, I know you're going to cheat on me. I know you're going to cheat on me. I know everyone's cheated on me, so I know you're going to, you know. And that, of course, is going to happen because it's been put out there. You will attract people who will have that weakness in them. Because you're expecting it, and you wouldn't really say that you're expecting it, because who's going to admit to, oh yeah, I expect that everyone's going to cheat on me. It's not really something that clear. But it is manifesting, because in your mind you're still saying that. In your mind you're still chewing over all those times that this has happened and how much people have hurt you. So we're shedding a lot of that right now. I feel like that's even why I'm sweating so much right now. It's like it's coming out of my pores, you know. It's the cells are like squeezing this out or something. It's like, I mean, I feel like I'm sitting here drenched right now, and seriously, it's chilly outside. I can even feel sweat going down my back. I'm like, what's going on? But so that's a big thing right now. Just kind of saying, hey, this happened to me. I can forgive this person who did it. I know that they can't say it, but I know that they regret it and wish they could do it over. I mean, think about how many things you've done in unconscious states, how many things you've said that have hurt people, how many things you've done to animals without thinking. I know, you know, decades ago you didn't have that consciousness. I mean, now our animals are everything, you know, but we've all done things that have hurt people. We've all done things that are disgraceful. We've all done shadow behavior stuff, because that's how we learn. So if you can just think about how much you regret the mean and hurtful and hateful things you've done to people, then it really makes it easier to forgive other people who've done the same, even if they really cannot ask for your forgiveness, because that doesn't really matter. You don't need to have them ask you to forgive them. It's more that you have to forgive yourself for what you've done that's rotten and skanky and mean. And then by doing that, it makes it easier to forgive other people, because we really do have to let go of those expectations we've had of somebody that are now kind of, you know, holding us back. Oh, I've got a leg going numb. Oh my gosh. That's where we're at right now. And what's really great too about this one is that, oh gosh, this is going to be rough. Let me see if I can like turn something here. It's like dead. I don't even feel it anymore. Okay, that's better. So, oh my gosh, it's like I don't even can see that. Woo. But so, okay, reborn. There's also, what's combined with this too is a lot of there's destiny shifting times to this energy right now. And like I've told you, there's actual energy that is, wow, that's amazing. My leg is all back to normal. There's energy like coming into this that's really facilitating that done with it energy. I'm not going to hold on to this baggage anymore. I'm really ready to live the life of my dreams and to create all the things that I really saw myself having in life that haven't really worked out the way I planned. So right now there's a really strong done with it energy. There's a really strong, I'm ready to create the life of my dreams. It doesn't matter how old I am. It doesn't matter what body size I have. It doesn't matter what history I have with jobs, history I have with relationships, been divorced 5 times. Like none of those things matter at all unless we want to give them importance and feed them and keep us anchored to this kind of manifesting state that's not really making us happy. So we are fully and utterly empowered beyond belief to really, especially with this full moon, be done with it, you know, and be letting it go and be like, I'm not going to manifest that stuff anymore. And if you can do that, what's going to start happening is every single solution to every single problem you have in your life is going to be coming to you. And a lot of times it can be something that is just not the right timing. You know, it's not, you know, I said something in a horoscope last time that just because we all, you know, we weren't all born at the same time, so why do we all expect that we're supposed to manifest our dreams at the same time? You know, like, you know, with me, I created this whole thing. I created Aquarius Nation. I saw everything that I was going to do, you know, even like I was going to do this radio station, which, you know, we didn't have podcasts then. And, you know, I knew I wanted to talk to people, but I couldn't see myself on being a DJ of a regular radio station. But I saw everything back in 1999 to 2001. And it took until, you know, 2012 to really start seeing that manifest, you know. So I had to even get into my 40s before things could start manifesting. So I had to wait that long to really start kind of living my dreams. So we really have to honor that we each have a unique timeline. And if we push ourselves too much, if we try to make this work, if we do too much of the comparison of what everybody else is doing, and, you know, if they can do it, I can do it, which that is a point to it, that's true, but you will start getting really insecure if it's just not the right timing yet. And that's a really big one that's happening with people. They're just like, I feel insecure, I don't feel, and that's not the energy of you're ready to come out and do this thing. That's an energy that's putting it mildly for you. It's just giving a little flavor of like, it's not the right timing. But that's not a bad thing. If it takes until 60, that's perfect. I always kind of think the older the better, because it's harder, you know, because we don't ever stay on top forever. You know, there's waves. Because we kind of have to share the manifesting space with all the other signs and with all the other human beings. And there's kind of 3 signs at least always operating with a gate opening for success in some way. And so but then you have to keep shifting through, and the next sign has the opportunity, and then shifting through. But so that's why we don't all like stay on the top, you know. And I remember like really seeing that, because my family, you know, came here from Italy and was always running, like, had a big grand hotel that was like a Ritz, but then the Depression came and it was worth nothing. And then at one time my family like owned the whole town. Like, they had a silent movie theater, which I think is so cool, because I'm like, who else do you know that had a family that owned a silent movie theater? I'm pretty impressed with that one. But then all these restaurants and saloons, and pretty much owned the whole town, and was so top on their game. And then I remember like my family's bar in the 60s and 70s and 80s, you know, would have a line around the street, and it was so busy, and it was this huge bar that was like the size of a club with separate rooms, and my dad would be bartending, but they were so top dog, you know. People would come from other states. We even had we had the first lottery machine. When they first had to be a concept you bought into. Of course, a bunch of Italians are going to buy into that. But so all these things that were like top dog stuff, you know. But now there's nothing there that my family owns. There's nothing. Nobody is on that top kind of thing. And I think, and also like I always love watching that. Or I like to watch movies that, you know, depict how people came above and did their thing and got discovered, but one thing I've realized, that people who do stay on top longer are very humble and not so much filled by the I'm a star mentality, you know, just kind of like, yeah, this is an honor. I've just noticed there's something different with people who they can ride the wave longer if they really just see it's an honor, and not that it fills their ego too much, but it's just a truth that we don't all stay on top all the time. We dip down, somebody else comes up. You know, we're up and then we're down. So it's a natural cycle. So I wonder why I brought that all up. So, you know, if you find that you're in the insecurity, or things aren't flowing as well, or, you know, things just aren't, you know, coming together like you planned, it's probably a timing issue. And it could be like you've had your limelight and now it's kind of go down to retreat, create a new project, you know, come out or go through life experiences, come out a couple years later. You know, you never know how it's going to go, but for us to plan on always being on the top it's not going to work out that way. It's not, there's too many of us offering beautiful gifts to have it be like that. And that's something we just have to respect. That's why when you are in a gate opening, when you're in a gate opening, it's really good to like really put your heart into it and really honor that the gate's open for me right now, and I'm able to manifest these dreams and I'm able to create these things, and you know, but the gate can close at any time, and we just have to honor that. We have to trust the cycles of the universe. We have to trust when we're supposed to come up to the line and act. We have to trust when we're supposed to pull back and retreat and allow others to. And if you can just kind of trust that flow, I feel like you won't drop so much to the down, but you can still just kind of like being like a wave up near the surface. If you can just stay humble and trust what it feels like to you. You know, do you feel like things just aren't working anymore? I was able to manifest so much and now there's roadblocks and I don't know what to do and I'm freaking out and I'm trying to push these things out and then they're making me feel more insecure because they're not really blossoming like I thought, you know? Because I kind of feel like we're supposed to narrow down more a couple things that we're supposed to give. And if we oversaturate, and now I'm going to do this, now I'm going to do this, now I'm going to do this, now I'm going to do that, they all kind of fizzle and lose their power. And you know, ideally we're wanting to create things that are sustainable and royalties, like, you know, so that they just keep going and just keep going and just keep going. But those are the things that really come from your soul, you know, those are the things that really come from your soul, not other people's comparison souls, but your soul, what just naturally comes from you, what just blossoms right out of you. So this energy is doing that now, and it's really like, it's either saying, hey, it's time, let's bring my thing forward, or it's really making you say, hey, I need to pull back, I need to grow up more, I need to live some more experiences, and that's okay. That's not anything to judge. Oh, that's what I was saying too. I was like, I always think having this stuff come later in the life is more exciting. Because then you don't have a crash. Like if it happens too young in life, you can have a crash, because then you're like, what happened? Now I'm not attracting this success. Now things aren't working out, and there can be some mental depression that comes from what's wrong with me, when really there's nothing wrong with you. You just have to allow the next wave to come, which may be 14, 20 years away, or, you know, who knows. But to me, like, even I said that when I see people who've like met their soulmates at 50 or 60, like they have a really special bond with these people, you know. So Capricorn too is always kind of reminding us that older is actually better. And I was talking to someone about that I was like, oh my gosh, we're finally in a generational time in history where it's honoring to be an elder. And I mean, we can say that there's always been a little bit of that flavor, but not as much as it is now. Like now it really is like, it's an honor. We don't look at it so much as the crone, you know, in a bad way, or, oh, you know, you're all tired and done and, you know, or whatever. But, you know, it's an honor now. Like we respect people. Like now we come to people, like someone in their 50s and 60s, we're like, yes, please tell me your story. You know, we're interested in it because they really walked all the pieces. You know, this is something I'll talk about in my podcast too, but I kind of have these feelings, unless you are being vacuumed up into a certain path, before 30, I'm like, just play, you know, gain social skills through working in a cafe, because that's how you really gain a lot of social skills and learn how to make friends and how to, that's when you have like 100 friends, is when you're working at cafes and restaurants, you know. I'm like, work at a cool coffee shop, you know, get some life experience before just racing out to be the top dog in things, because especially knowing that you're not going to stay up top, wouldn't you rather get to up top and have wisdom with you when you're up top, or, you know, just kind of, you know, kind of thing. So anyway, so another part of this is Oh, you know what? That's so funny. That's what that is. Because we're actually having the full moon right now, but there is a lot of chatty energy, and really almost like being able to connect with people and really say just what you need to say to them to bring the peace, to bring the understanding, to bring love back into the picture. So there's a lot of, whether it's birthing inside of us where you're like, I just have to make peace with this person. You know, the older I've gotten, it's been a really big part of my thing of just like wanting to forgive people and, you know, wanting to make peace and not wanting to hold a grudge or feel judgmental with them. Like, you hurt me, so now I'm not going to give you anything. Like, that kind of energy now is just hurting you 100% of the time. And this energy right now can really kind of open your heart to being like, I'm just going to send a letter to this person. I'm just going to write how I'm feeling. You know, it's not like we have to, like I said, it's not like we have to expect them to get it too. And, you know, to write back to us or anything, but it is like you have to get it out of you. This is the whole inside job thing where the only thing that matters is what you're thinking. The only thing that matters is what you're feeling. The only thing that matters is that you are handling this stuff that you need to clear the air with others. You know, if you had some altercation with someone and then you see them at the store 2 years later, you're supposed to be like, hi. You're supposed to remember that you did have a special connection with this person. And if they still just can't even look you in the eye and are like, hi, and walking past you, you're the winner. You know, it doesn't matter that they couldn't talk to you. That's not important in this equation. They're then going to have to manifest all these other situations in their life until they too can get to that point of, hey, whatever, we all screw up. Because basically it's almost like holding grudges over other people is saying that you don't forgive yourself. Because if you forgive yourself, you aren't really concerned with whether they forgive you, you know, or whether they're over it. So it can actually be something that you eventually kind of giggle about. Like, it's like, well, I guess they're still stuck in that state because they can't even look me in the eye. You know, they can't even tolerate me, you know, but it's like, that's them. That's on them. So it's kind of a freeing thing when you can get to that. We don't have to fix people. We don't have to bring them to our side. We just have to forgive ourselves. And in doing that, we are then able to forgive other people for whatever they've done. Whether it's a miscommunication or something really, you know, purposefully hurtful, you can kind of let that go. And we have to let that go. It's essential for us to manifest these lives of happy and joy and creativity and really feeling like life is valuable. And there's so much sacred, sweet, beautiful energy right now with really glimpsing that. And like all of you should be feeling what I wrote in the horoscopes about being kissed by the divine. Like after you went through the last couple weeks that were kind of painful and kind of not and angry, there was a really big hating people energy out there where I even noticed it driving in the car, and kind of like how I can see energy is similar to those water pictures with what was his name? I forget what his name is in that one movie. I forget what that movie's called. But but I was thinking how it's almost like seeing the auras in that way, but it's very much like the energy, even in the air, takes on these shapes. And I noticed it the other day out driving, and I was like, oh my gosh, everybody hates everybody. And I'd never really said that before, and it really did make me like, oh my gosh, this could be leading to danger and killing people and situations that are very hurtful, because it was like they were hating each other. Like, I hate you, and going fast, and da-da-da, and you know, so a lot of people were feeling that, and it was just kind of facing some things within themselves. You know, it wasn't really having to do with anybody else. It was just like, I hate my life. You know, if you're saying I hate people, you're kind of saying I hate my life. I hate what has happened. I hate how this has unfolded. And that is perfect, because that's how we get to that rock bottom point that then ba-doing and bounces us up into like, I'm going to change my life. I'm going to drop that person because I don't feel good about that person. That person does not make me feel valuable. Why would I keep him in my life? You know, I'm going to let go of that job because I feel like crap. I cry going into work every day. I had that with a job before. You know, I remember having this thing happen to me that was so violating that I couldn't see, I couldn't put the words on it, I couldn't accept what was happening. And it wasn't until I would leave this place and just be bawling. I mean, it was just, my body was like, that was wrong, what happened? And, you know, I had to go to someone and share what was happening, and then it was happening to that person too. So it was like, oh, okay, that's what's going on, I can face it. But our bodies show us this stuff. Our body is always really letting us know, is this person for you? Is this job for you? Is this location for you? Is this partnership for you? And you can read about that on the horoscopes, but I talked a lot about this divorce thing that's going on right now. And a lot of people that you thought would never get divorced and were in it for the long haul are, you know, not that they intentionally want to end something that they committed to staying till death do us part, but that you're on different pages. You're not attracted anymore. It's just, it's not what it was. And so I wrote a lot about that because that's a big thing happening for people, and you really need to trust and honor what your body's telling you, because if it's time to part, it's time to part. And you just need to do it in a proper way where there's love in both hearts, but not looking at it as such a bad thing anymore, because just like the cycles of life, just like how we manifest and then we don't manifest, and then we're out in the world and then we're hidden like in the winter, you know, this stuff just happens, and it's not like it's a bad thing. But the only thing that's important is that you do remain friends and that you do remain respectful with each other. Because, you know, as we change and grow, we need different things from different people. And if that person that you're with cannot provide those, little by little, your spirit's going to shrink. Little by little, you're going to start getting bitchy about everything. Little by little, you're going to feel like your life isn't valuable. I'm not happy. And right now, everything in the world just really wants, and everything in the energy, you know, coming to the planet, coming with the consciousness, just wants us to be happy. And no matter what, just doing what we love to do and putting ourselves in situations where we feel like we're getting Miracle Grow without the chemicals, you know, but that people lift us up. I mean, I've just so much noticed that recently, of like who I'm around where I feel empowered and great and, you know, motivated, and then who I'm around where I feel like I have to argue, or it's just not comfortable, or I feel like I have to put myself down, I'm not shining, you know. And we really have to respect what our bodies are telling us no matter what. If we put our minds into it, we're going to stay with it and try to make it work and just be like, oh, I can get over this, I don't, you know, this doesn't really have to affect me. But in truth, your body's trying to speak to you, and your body's trying to point you to, this is a better place for you to live. Look at what happens when you live here, you know, and this place is holding you down. This place is keeping you locked in your old, you know, in your old personality that they're not letting you out of, which can kind of be a home-based one, you know, where they've remember all the silly things you've done, and they'll still just hold you to them. You know, you did this back when you were 14, so I'm going to hold you to that. So that's one reason too, we do have to kind of often move to new places to have a new energy, to really be the true us's that we've evolved into, you know. And you know, even with that, like as an example, I'm sure I've told you, unless you're new here, but I was the meanest person in high school. I was hateful, horrible. I just was like, I scared people with how angry and just ready to fight and wanted to kick their butt, you know. I was just like, I was really unhappy. I was really just like, had been just squashed as like, you're a loser, you're worthless. So I just kind of put that out there and was really mean to people. And But people could certainly hold me to that and still be like, you were so mean when you were 17. You were a nightmare, you know, or 16 or 14, all that. But I don't really feel like I express that now. But that's where too, if I did still live there, do you really think, I remember too, I changed when I moved to San Francisco, and then when I came back, I was just like a completely different person, but it was because I put myself in this new space, and I was able to really be me, and find me, and discover me, and, you know, step out of all that programming of who people were believing me to be by the actions I had done that weren't really honorable, and all that. So let's see what else is going on with this chart. See if there's anything else I wanted to say with that. So yeah, this is such an incredibly beautiful chart, and the one on the new moon is too. I'm just really excited. I'm kind of looking at this as like, this is a really big door closing. This is really us being done with it and leading with our hearts. Like I said, like our hearts are empowered by this Mars energy that's also right there with the North Node energy. So this is like destiny related, you know, and this is also kind of like a lot of that changing peoples in our life, changing a path, changing and moving on to a path that is better aligned to what will really bring us happiness. And so it's powerful like that. But that's where it's like, finally, it's almost like this door closing is really more activating our hearts so that we can see through our heart, so that we can see through, how does this feel to me, you know, and honor that. And then, but also, even though Mercury's really strong in this, it's a different kind of flavor of Mercury, of like your mind's kind of agreeing with your body now, like your mind's not fighting that now, you know, like your body's saying, hey, this doesn't feel good, and your mind's like, you know, you're right, I maybe should be really brave and trust that there's a reason to this, and make the steps to move towards this other way that feels more like home. Because right now it's really about like feeling like home, you know. And there was one friend who came to visit a couple weeks ago, and I just love her so much, and there was qualities that she has that I was really recognizing, again, sharing space with her. And you know, and one of the things is that she is such a good sounding board, and I'm going to be talking about this in the podcast, but sounding boards are very much in demand right now, you know, because we're all becoming sovereign beings, so we all do have the answers inside of us. So I just, and I have a couple people in my life like that I recognize as, but I can just say anything to them, and they don't fight me on it or try to steer me in another direction of how I should be thinking, or I should be doing this, or I should be doing that. They just kind of go, you know, and this one in particular, like whenever she doesn't agree with something that I'm doing, she always just will like give me a question to kind of stop me and make me think about it again. She won't just say, you need an attitude adjustment, you need to da-da-da-da, you know. She'll be like, well, what do you think that, or I can't even think of anything now, but she'll always like give it as a question. And then the friend who visited too, like, you know, it's just this harmonious thing where you're free to be you no matter what. Like, it doesn't feel like there's any kind of conflict or having to defend yourself or having to, you know, change, or having to then feel bad about what you said. Or, you know, you'll notice that kind of thing with people and in jobs. Is your energy going down, or is it kind of lifting up and feeling like, oh, this is home, you know? This is, you know, this just feels like natural and easy. And, you know, and I'm someone who so have had to learn that, because I'm more like going to give my opinions on things. And I've just kind of been shifting a lot, even in doing readings, when it's like, you know, Skype and like, or, you know, coaching. So it's kind of like I'm hearing where they're coming from, I'm da-da-da, and, you know, kind of contributing to that. But I'm kind of learning through these other people in my life how to do it so that they're kind of still coming up with their own answer, you know, planting kind of seeds, but they're still, you know, coming up with, oh, you know what? I think I really should like give this a chance with this guy, you know, because he's not what I expect or what I thought would be, you know, a person that I would be with. But I do like enjoy talking with him, and or whatever. So there's just new ways to kind of do it where we're still coming up with all of our answers and our correct moves and all that kind of stuff, but it's not through it's kind of like passive teaching, being a passive guide, so that you are steering them, but not like forcing them and grabbing them and turning them and going, this way, this is the way for you. Because we tend to resist that, because we are all becoming these sovereign beings who have all the answers for our unique roadmap. So that's something too that is helping you to see who feels best, who feels like home, what job feels like home, what person, and it's not something we need to judge too, because we just have certain people and certain situations that we need in the process of our own development. It does not mean that every single one of these people does not come back to you later in life when you are in this same alignment. And that's something to honor too. That's kind of the thing. If a relationship ends, you're supposed to do it with love. You might come back together in 10 years. You don't know. We don't know. I say always leave it open for friendships to come back. Always leave it open for relationships to come back. I've heard about that one so much. Like you were together when you were younger. You still needed to grow and learn these other things. And then you come together in your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and it's like, oh my gosh, this is beautiful now. So it's really just about like letting go of our issues where we have to be like, you hurt me, I'm mad at you, I'm never going to forgive you. That one is such a mirror on, we have to let that go. We're not forgiving ourselves. Because if you can forgive yourself, you can forgive anybody for anything they've done, knowing that it was done to them too. It was done to the person who did it to them, who then did it to the other person. It goes down the line. And so it's really about us just forgiving ourselves enough to know they weren't really in the consciousness of high vibration to keep from doing something that damaging. So that's where we're at. And I think I'm going to stop because I have a friend here and I need to take care of some other things. But yes, this one is so exciting though. And I think you're feeling this burst of excitement. I hope you are. If you're not yet, it's coming. And it's going to come on the tail of you really facing what needs to change, what needs to be let go of. Like, I feel so incredibly happy right now. I almost just want to cry. I'm like, this feels so good. It's like, So you can all have that, but it was from having several days of not feeling good and not understanding what was going on and feeling very discontent, like I just want to go to bed because this is like so it comes on the tail of that, and that's how life is. It comes on the tail of awkward, uncomfortable, painful things. Bliss always shows up after those. So that's that cycle of life. That's that you're up, you're down, you're up, you're down. And yes. Okay, my sweetheart loves. I had no idea what I was going to talk about, and yet then again, I poured it out. And I'm starting the podcast on Wednesday. I'm so excited. I have my mic here. It'll be nice to have it for my videos because you won't always hear the refrigerator start and hear all the hummingbirds outside and, and all the birds. And so it'll be nice to have that mic. But so I start those on Wednesday. It's also the day that Jupiter goes into Leo, which is going to feel really wonderful and abundant and loving, like expanding the need to love and expanding the need to share your creativity and expanding the need to discover happiness. So do understand that, like I said, this year has the most amazing aspects all year long. Everyone is powerful, powerful, powerful. That's why 2015 is going to be such a different world from all this prep work and all this stuff we're working on. But this is really the final gate of like, drop it now. Let go of feeling wounded, let go of feeling like a victim, let go of all these things that aren't working, and don't necessarily try to figure your way out yet. That's not important. I even wrote something about that, like, you know, when people say, how do I get my work out in the world? I'm like, that's not even a focus you need. It only needs to be on loving what you're doing. I kind of think now about like how my business got out there, and I'm like, I couldn't have dreamed it up the way it worked, you know, but it was, I just decided that I'm going to do what I love and I'm going to do what I'm really good at, and we'll just see what happens. And that's the only mentality you guys need. You don't need to think about money, how this could possibly make money. You don't need to think about how on earth you can get this out there, but how do I get it out there? But how do I get it out there? I mean, even if you listen to that energy, it was way outside of your body, wasn't it? It wasn't like a sovereign thing in your belly of knowing, of like, I will get this out there at the right time and in the right way, and I don't need to try to figure that out or manipulate anything. It's going to happen in its own timing. And when you say that, you feel that in your belly, and it's like, oh yeah, it's okay. So, so you can all just relax right now, but do just know this is getting rid of big heavy duty stuff right now, and this is a huge gate opening for that. So don't deny this, face it all, write it down. I'm ready to let go of that person, these kind of situations, lacking, manifesting that sort of lack, manifesting that sort of sadness and disappointment over and over and over. Just kind of right now, name what you're letting go of, and then come this new moon on the 26th that I'm so excited about, that is when it's really like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to manifest this into my life. So that'll be a really big, like the biggest one of planting those seeds of like now, because that one, that new moon is going to have Jupiter with it. So you're going to have the sun, moon, Jupiter, bam, right there in Leo. So this is amazing times, my love. This is amazing times. These are amazing times. And I'm so happy to be with you. I think I told you that I was probably going to stop doing the videos in order to do the podcast, but that probably won't happen. I'll probably still be here because I am here to communicate messages, and I think right now it's so important to reach whoever I can grab. I feel like I'm finally now really starting to put my energy out like a net and saying, okay, I'm ready to catch people. You know, I'm really ready to just reach as many people as I can, just to keep them in a state of hope. And I can do this, and I'm not a bad person, and I deserve to be loved, and I deserve to have success, and I deserve to be happy. So it's really just about getting that mind back to honoring that and respecting that and knowing that. And that's what I kind of feel like my job is here to do, to get you on that vibration on more of a daily basis. So podcasts start Wednesday. I'm going to have the Jupiter and Leo readings out. Those are going to be written, and that'll tell you what your year ahead is going to be. I'll have that around Wednesday too. I just have a friend in town, so I got to figure out how I can get that done. It might be Thursday, keeping it real. But that's all coming. And you have a beautiful day. I'm going to go soak in some hot springs and nurture my body. This is also, too, a really good time to kind of nurture, take care of your body, love yourself. You know, this is a really big energy with the sun in Cancer of love, and love yourself, nurture yourself, get into water. You know, my dear friend Laura was saying last night how every time I write the horoscope, she prints them out and gets in the bathtub to read them, and she is a Cancer, but I was like, that's perfect. That's actually so perfect, especially with this one, to be reading them in water, to really let them soak into you in water, because even that, it'll make you feel so good, and then you're in the water, so you'll affect the water in that vibration, and then that water will be then affecting your skin. So I think I'm going to do the same thing. Maybe I'll print my stuff out, because I don't ever remember what I write, and then go sit in the hot springs and read about what's going to be happening to me. Okay, my loves, you have a beautiful one. I will see you on Wednesday, and then I will see you a lot of days on a regular basis after that. Okay, loves, have a beautiful one.